The city glittered through the glass walls of the 48th floor like 1,000 secrets she owned but never wanted to keep. Amelia Drake, CEO of one of the most powerful real estate firms in the country, sat behind her mahogany desk at midnight, her eyes heavy from exhaustion but her mind sharper than ever. Success had a scent: cold coffee, printer ink, and the faint ache of loneliness. Tonight, however, wasn't about another late-night deal or signature. Tonight, she was going to test something far more human. A few of her employees had mentioned the new janitor, a quiet man who worked the night shift and never looked anyone in the eye. Some said he used to be an engineer, others claimed he was homeless once. But what caught Amelia's attention was something different. He was the only employee who didn't flinch when she walked by. The only one who didn't perform fake smiles or exaggerated greetings. He was polite, invisible, and painfully humble. That intrigued her. She decided she wanted to see what people did when they thought no one was watching. So, as the clock neared 1 a.m., she reclined in her chair, closed her eyes, and pretended to nap, leaving her office door slightly open. It wasn't power she was testing tonight. It was decency. Speech balloon. If you believe in kindness, humility, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let's keep stories like this alive. The soft hum of the vacuum cleaner drifted through the hall. Then came the faint squeak of a cleaning cart's wheels. The footsteps stopped just outside her office. She could sense him peeking inside, hesitant, respectful. Then came the faintest sound of his breath, like someone bracing himself before stepping into a sacred space. He entered quietly, pushing his cart. From beneath her half-lidded eyes, Amelia saw him for the first time up close. He was tall but slightly stooped, with the weary posture of a man carrying invisible weights. His uniform was clean but faded, his hands roughened from labor. And when he looked at her, even for a fleeting second, there was something in his eyes that stunned her, an unspoken sadness wrapped in gentleness. He began cleaning silently, careful not to disturb her. He wiped down her desk with slow, deliberate motions, pausing when his eyes caught the photograph that sat beside her computer, her and her late father, smiling on the day she opened her first office. He lingered there for a heartbeat longer, a shadow of understanding passing across his face. Then, softly, too softly, he whispered, "You must miss him." Amelia froze. The word struck her like a chord she hadn't realized was still strung tight inside her. He didn't know she was awake. He wasn't performing. It was pure empathy, the kind that comes from someone who knows loss too intimately. She stayed still, her breath shallow, listening as he continued in a whisper meant only for himself. "My Emma used to say that people who smile like that in old photos, they're still smiling somewhere, just waiting for us to catch up." He exhaled slowly, his voice breaking with emotion. "I hope she's right." Amelia's throat tightened. Emma. The name hung in the air like the scent of rain after drought. She watched as he carefully adjusted the photo frame so it stood straight, his hand trembling slightly. Then, before leaving, he did something no one had ever done. He picked up the fallen paperweight from the corner of her desk and placed it gently near her hand, as if protecting her from even the smallest imperfection. After he left, Amelia opened her eyes. For the first time in months, she couldn't focus on her spreadsheets or profit margins. That whisper replayed in her mind, heavy and fragile. She sat there long after he was gone, staring at the doorway he'd disappeared through, wondering who he really was and what kind of pain taught someone to be that kind. Over the next week, she watched him from a distance. Every night he arrived on time, wearing the same faded uniform, greeting the receptionist with a quiet evening. He always carried a lunchbox, metal, old-fashioned, and when he thought no one was watching, he'd sit on the emergency staircase and eat in silence. Sometimes, he'd smile faintly at a picture he kept inside the box lid, a little girl with sunflowers in her hair. His daughter, Amelia, guessed point. One night, she approached him. "What's your name?" she asked, startling him mid-mop. He blinked, hesitant. "Daniel," he said softly. "Daniel Ross." She nodded. "You've been here a few weeks now?" "Yes, ma'am," he replied. "Just trying to keep my head down and do good work." Something in his humility made her chest ache. "You do good work, Daniel. Better than most people I know." That night, after he left, she checked his file. He had no disciplinary issues, no notes, just a line that said single father. Previous experience, maintenance, mechanical repair. A man who once worked with machines, now mopping floors. The kind of person the world steps over without ever asking why. As the days passed, Amelia found herself waiting for his quiet presence each night. Once, she brought 2 cups of coffee, one black, one sweetened, and left the second cup on the stairwell where he usually sat. She didn't say anything. Neither did he. But the next night, she found the empty cup washed and returned. The silence between them became a kind of language point. One stormy evening, when rain lashed against the glass walls, Amelia noticed Daniel standing by the window after his shift, staring out at the lightning. He looked distant, like a man fighting memories he didn't want to remember. She approached him gently, asking, "You okay?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Just thinking. My daughter loved thunderstorms. Said they sounded like angels bowling in the sky." He smiled faintly, then added, "She passed 2 years ago. Leukemia." The words landed like stones in her heart. She didn't know what to say, so she just stood there. Finally, he whispered, "I used to be an engineer. Built things. But after Emma, I couldn't fix anything anymore. So I started cleaning. It felt honest. You can't hide dirt, you just face it, one stain at a time." Tears stung Amelia's eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. He shook his head softly. "Don't be. I still hear her sometimes. Especially when people are kind. She always said kindness was the only thing that survives us." That night, Amelia sat alone in her office long after he'd gone. She thought about everything she'd lost chasing success, the warmth, the softness, the ability to simply feel. Daniel had less than anyone in her building, yet his soul was richer than all their boardrooms combined. The next morning, she made a decision that startled everyone. She called an early meeting and announced the launch of a new internal fund, a program for employees struggling with personal crises, education for their children, and mental health support. When asked what inspired it, she simply said, "Someone reminded me that real success doesn't shine, it heals." When Daniel came in that night, he found an envelope on his cleaning cart. Inside was a letter written in her elegant hand. "Daniel, your quiet strength reminded me what leadership truly means. I can't return what life took from you, but I hope this helps you rebuild. Consider it a thank you, from one broken soul to another finding her way back." Inside the envelope was a check for more money than he had ever seen. Enough to start again. Enough to breathe. He stood there for a long time, trembling, then looked toward her office window where she stood watching from behind the blinds. Their eyes met. He pressed his hand to his heart and nodded, a silent promise that her kindness would not be wasted. Months later, the janitor was gone, but not forgotten. He'd used the money to open a small mechanical repair shop named Emma's Hands, dedicated to single parents rebuilding their lives. Amelia visited once, quietly, standing outside the window watching him laugh with a customer, the warmth returning to his face. As she turned to leave, a little girl, someone else's daughter, ran past her, clutching a sunflower. And in that instant, Amelia felt something shift deep inside her. The city didn't glitter like before. It glowed softly, gently, like it was breathing again. That night, when she returned to her office, she looked at her father's photo and whispered, "You were right, Dad. The best investments are in people." Then she smiled, realizing she no longer needed to fake sleep to test kindness. She had seen it, felt it, and been changed by it. Forever.